Good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that this place in which I am sharing stories from is located within the traditional unceded lands of the Ginnagahaga or Mohawk peoples, part of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. There's a strong historic presence of Anishinaabe peoples in what is now known as the Greater Montreal area. Chichoge or Montreal has long been a gathering place for different people in different communities. And it's been a long, strange couple of years. We've been thinking a lot about these places that we call home, these places we find ourselves. And I hope it really is the beginning of something new, a new opportunity to consider these historical chains, the connections we've made and the choices we make going forward. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is Confabulation. I'm Matt Goldberg, and I am driving. Well, I'm not driving. I'm 12 years old, but I am in my mom's red station wagon, the essential car of the 90s suburban mom. And we're driving to Christmas Park Elementary School, and this is amazing. I never get to drive to school. It must be because today is obviously the big grade 6 public speaking competition, and I am going to destroy the rest of my class because even though, you know, the nights before this, I haven't done traditional things like prepare or even come up with an idea. I just know in my gut that I am a gifted public speaker, and this is going to go great. Now, my mom is driving me. We live close. We actually live on the bus route. So this really is like a special treat. And we pull up right in front. And just as I'm about to get out of the car, she puts her hand on my arm and she says, you know, Matthew, it might not go as well as you think. And like, I don't know how to react. Like my face is frozen in shock and horror. And I think I like stumble out of the car and like Hulk slam the door in a 12-year-old fury. And I just start walking up to Christmas Park Elementary with this running in my head. This isn't going to go as well. This isn't going to go as well. But you know, I have the overwhelming confidence of a preteen boy. So I just push that little voice out of my head. I mean, I had spent some time preparing. I mean, an hour before bed, my mom suggested that maybe I might want to write something. So I sat down in front of my computer and started to think about the things I knew anything about. Now I was 12, so not very much. She came into the room and started pitching ideas at me. Maybe you could talk about your family. I'm like, I don't want to talk about my family. Maybe you want to talk about music. I don't know anything about music. She goes through idea after idea after idea. Finally, she says, being nervous. Great, being nervous. This is great because I'm an awkward, uncomfortable person at 12, but for some reason, full of confidence when it comes to coming up on stage. So obviously being nervous is going to be a breeze for me. So I hammer something out in an hour, go to bed, on my way to class. Now, I don't need to tell you about the event. It doesn't go well. I do not win. I do not crush my class. And I come precariously close to tears at the end of it. For what it's worth, the girl who does win the competition tells a true story of her own life in what really should have been an eerie premonition of the future. But I didn't take it that way at the time. Instead, I was decimated, I was crushed, and I went home, had dinner, and did not talk to my mom for the rest of the week. Now, my mom has died now, not immediately after that, many, many, many years later. But I think about that drive a lot. We never talked about it. But now that I've got kids of my own, I have the weirdest thing with them. They really want to do things and they really want to be good at things, but they really don't want to practice any of them. And for the first time, I understand exactly what she must have been going through. We're watching the Olympics, we're watching the figure skating, and my daughter is furious because she can't do it, but they look so beautiful. And I'm like, practice, do something, practice. My whole life has been a struggle between things happen if you make them happen, and you know, we could just take a little more time to relax. And I've never quite gotten that balance perfect, but I'm hoping that one day I can get my kids there. And if I can't, well, I'll just drive them to school and do that one last grab before they get out. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Confabulation Presents The Shortest Story. A night full of stories, all 2 minutes or less. I didn't time myself. I think I failed. I think I hit 3 minutes at least there. Was anyone timing? I'm going to take off my swallow. Deb not timing. That's fine. I'm the traditional timer of this show. So here's how it works. If you've never been to a Confabulation event before, it's nothing like this normally. We normally share 6 to 8 or 8 to 10 minute true life stories, things that really happen to us. Now, the stories you'll be hearing tonight are all true as well. They're all shared by the people that live those stories. The only difference is tonight we're talking fast. We have 2 minutes to share our stories. Now, after 2 minutes, cameras aren't going to turn off. We're not going to ring an annoying bell, though I do have an annoying bell. I was told it's too loud. Fair. But instead, we're just going to try our best to keep it under 2. And it's going to be a blast. It's one of our favorite annual traditions. This is our 12th time doing this. So thank you all for being here with us. I've got a huge number of storytellers ahead of us. We got 19 stories tonight. So I better just keep going. So our next storyteller number 2 on the evening, please welcome to the screen, Emily Trudeau.
I stand up in the middle of the classroom, furious. How dare you? I continue with all the confidence in the world, which I will lose in about 6 months during my first visit to Lanza. My breasts will grow and my confidence will fall. How dare you talk while Miss Anne-Marie is talking? Miss Anne-Marie is our teacher and we owe her respect. It's my first year of high school and I'm attending a kind of a big, huge cube cement block with a metal lock that someone hot glues shut every morning, Monday morning. Our English teacher puts on Britney Spears for an hour and calls it a lesson. And the one time we'll get to dissect a frog, they'll give us 1 plastic glove for teams of 2 people. So that's 3 hands unaccounted for. I'm surrounded by students juggling language barriers, part-time jobs, no lunch, and even less breakfast. And I just came back from an apple picking trip to Vermont, which I spent arguing with my parents that Disney World is so much better than La Ronde because of the variety of storytelling featured in the ride. I did not fit in, and neither did I want to. My classmates are loud, they're annoying, they're uncouth, and I'd rather be reading Harry Potter anyways. Miss Anne-Marie is our teacher, and we owe her our respect. I walk around class with all the authority of privilege, looking each of my classmates in the eye so they know that not knowing who Charlotte Bronte is a state of personal debauchery, a stain on their future, a sign of their intrinsic depravity. It's probably a surprise to no one that I got violently pushed against the locker later that day. The fortunate thing is I never realized it was happening. I was reading and walking, so I just assumed I bumped into someone. So I picked up my book, I apologized profusely, and went back to page 134 of Sense and Sensibility. I didn't have breasts yet, so it was kind of impossible to intimidate me. That's it.
Thank you, Emily. Oh, I am just always so happy to meet another human who reads and walks and crashes into things or is shoved. Thank you, Emily. That I didn't start the timer. It was about 2:20. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Our next storyteller is a first timer here at Confabulation. Please welcome to, I keep saying this, please welcome to the screen, Afrina Noor.
Hi, thank you. Okay, so my story is somewhere like circa 1990 when none of this technology existed. I'm going to take you with me to Africa, Botswana, where I grew up, and I am around 5 years old at this time. I wake up in the afternoon, it's hot, it's summer, so probably around the same part of the year as it is right now, but there. And there's nobody at home or they're all sleeping and I don't know what's going on. So I just like groggily get myself to the dining table and they're like these 2 huge ass boiled potatoes because my mom just for the life of her can't get me to eat anything except potatoes. So I'm going to eat boiled potatoes. So there's a plate with 2 big boiled potatoes, there's a small pitcher with salt, and there's a bowl for the peels. And I just sit down and I'm like lost in my universe, peeling away these potatoes and just putting the peels in the bowl to throw away later. And there's a knock at the door, and I'm just like, huh, who could that be? And then I just walk to the door, and there's Imogen, my neighbor, my friend, and she's just like a couple of years older than me. And I'm just like, hi, Imo, come on in. And after that, I don't know a thing, because I have never in my 5-year-old life hosted a person. What am I supposed to say to her after this? Like, I don't know. So I just close the door and I go back to the dining table and I sit down where I was sitting and I start to peel the rest of my potatoes. And she just stands next to me, and she's the same height as me when she's standing because she's older than me. And so like I peel the potatoes, and then she sees that I'm just going to eat the potatoes, and she starts to eat the skins. And we're both dipping them in salt and we're eating them, and we don't say a word to each other. And then she finishes the skins, and then she's like, okay. And she just shrugs her shoulders and she walks to the door and she leaves. And I'm just like, did that just happen? And then I look down, and yeah, like there are no potatoes and there are no skins. So that happened. But up until that moment, I never knew you could eat potato skins.
Thank you, Afrina. That was 2 minutes and 15 seconds. I love that. That's your first party. That's great. Our next storyteller this evening is number 4, Mike Pellegrin. I can't find him to highlight him. Here he is, Mike Pellegrin.
Mute. It was a dark and stormy night. I'm not kidding, it really was. It was dark and it was stormy. Okay. And the winds have shifted on the Red Sea, and all the boats that are facing the sea and the port of Eilat have got to get out fast, or else the winds are going to crush us on the rocks. So I'm the first mate on a 120-foot topsail schooner, and myself and 5 of our crew are rapidly unfastening ropes and getting us prepared. So there's a 2-inch rope that goes from the bow out to the ocean and reaches to a buoy that's anchored to the bottom of the sea. That normally holds us, but this isn't normal times. The gale force winds, it's not going to hold. So we don't have much time, you know. So we've cast off from the bow and the starboard and the port side, and the captain gives a bit of throttle. And so I wrap the 2-inch rope around the capstan and start to winch it. It's a long 3 minutes before we get all the way out to the buoy. And then I unhook the rope from the buoy, and we're ready to dig into the waves. So I climb up on the top of the bow, and I'm holding on to the rigging because, you know, now we're really rising and falling and getting thrashed by the waves, and taste the salt, you know. And Ami, the captain, he's a full 10 meters behind me. So he can't see what I see. And what I see in the water is a rope that someone has cast off and left in the ocean. It's got to be 20 or 30 meters. And it goes from the starboard side to in front of us, but off to the starboard side. So there's only one thing to do. We've got to go to the port side. So I call back to Ami and I yell, hard port, rope in the water, you know, and I point, you know, just to give him that. Yeah. So what does Ami do? He's unperturbed. Him and his 5-foot solid muscle, unaffected by emotional things such as fear, or a 21-year-old who thinks he knows what he's talking about. And sure enough, he takes the wheel and turns us hard to starboard, the opposite direction. So in my most useful, condescending tone, I yell, no, port. Yeah. I am unceremoniously ignored. He heads straight for starboard, goes directly for the rope. When we get to the rope, turns off the engine, we glide right across it, then he guns the engine. We're in the open ocean. Okay, so my warning was good, but it turns out that if we had gone to the port side the way suggested, we might not have enough power with the wind and the closeness to the port, might not have time to to get out in time and meet safety. So my seamanship, not so good. It's a hard lesson, and it's one I carry with me today. And that is, sometimes, the person who's experienced and in charge may be right.
Thank you, Mike. That was 3 minutes, but it was a sea voyage, so I wanted more. Thank you. That was great. We got some themes developing already about people knowing things, responsibility. We've got schools. I love this. Kids. All right. Who's up next? Storyteller number 5. Please welcome. Are you here? I can't find you on the list. Oh, Miriam Ganny. Miriam.
It's 7 years ago, and I'm walking into a movie theater. I'm on a date with a guy called Rafi, who does not know that I have a visual impairment. But I decide to lead the way anyway. So I walk in, crossing my fingers that we didn't miss the preview, but we did. So I wait for a flash from the screen to illuminate the path so I can take a step up. I wait for a flash, I stop, and I take a step up. Flash, stop, take a step up, until I make it to a row that seems to be empty. I turn around and I say, there's this empty spot. So we go, and then I sit comfortably in a woman's laps. And she was so shocked, yet she did not make a sound. The only sound I heard was her popcorn flying all over me. So I flick it off me and her. So sorry. And I continue feeling every single lap for an empty seat. Luckily, there were 2 empty seats. We're watching the movie, and my date keeps offering me nachos. And not to be rude, I finally accept a nacho. However, I wait for that flash. I wait for the flash, I take a nacho, and then a dip. I wait for the flash, I take a chip, and I dip. And then I wait for another flash. I take a chip, and I dip my whole hand in the cheese. And then I take out my hand, and everything is dripping all over my date's lap and on his shoes. Yeah, well, today I go on dates, but I go with my date, my favorite one, Moses, the White King. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. The hand. Thank you, Miriam. That is beautiful. Tonight, you're going to have 4 different hosts from our team, and we're at the 1/4 mark. We are cruising along. So I now have the pleasure of introducing both your next storyteller and your next host, as I get to enjoy the rest of this show from a more relaxed position. So please welcome our very next storyteller and your future host. She is the general manager of Confabulation Montreal. She also happens to run our amazing, co-run our amazing Story Lab series, along with another of our future hosts. Please welcome Deb Van Slett.
January 2021. And I am one of the few people at my work that goes physically to work, the Artist Run Center, because I give out equipment. I'm the production person, so we still are open for people to come in and get equipment. So I walk to work, and I discover the best spring rolls in town. Now, I walk by this place, and I have walked by this place for like a year or 2. I never thought to go in. One of my colleagues suggested the best spring rolls in town are there. So I go, and they are. And I developed this relationship with the guy behind the counter. He's behind the counter. We're behind our masks. And I go in and I make my order. Hello, how are you today? I'm fine. Take my order. I go wait for my order. Hello, Miss Deborah. Here's your bag, and off I go. So like twice a week, I was going. I just had so many spring rolls from January to like the end of May, and then we close. Like the Artist Run Center where I work, we're closed. So no spring rolls all summer. September, I go back to work. And like, yeah, spring rolls, great. So I go in and there he is. There's the guy. So again, we greet each other. Hi, how are you? Good. And not a lot of chatting, never was. Just like, hi, how are you? Good, warm connection with the eyes. And I get my order, and he reaches over to hand it to me, and he says, what happened? And I'm like, oh, that is really sweet. He's like, hasn't seen me in a couple of months, and he's wondering, like, where have I been? So then I think, okay, so what should I tell him? Should I tell him that the Artist Rent Center closed and that we're just like closed for the summer? Or should I just say, look, I was just out of town and, I just didn't come around. But just before I launch into any detail, I just have a little like, I just clear this up. So I ask him, what did you say? And he's holding the bag out and he says, do you need napkins? It's like, no, what happened? Do you need napkins? Oh my God. No, I don't need napkins. Thank you. Have a good day. And I walked out and I thought, oh, I just sideswiped like a kooky lady moment. And I was very happy about that. Thank you. Kooky lady moments, especially behind the mask, everything's muffled anyway. Like, okay. Our next storyteller is, I believe, a first-time storyteller. I could be wrong, but I believe so. And welcome to the screen, Shannon Babcock.
Thanks, Deb. So I'm 40 weeks pregnant, but we've been waiting a lot longer than that for this baby. Finally, it's time. The hospital calls, they want to set up an induction because I'm over 35, so I'm considered a geriatric pregnancy and I'm high risk. So we book a taxi for very, very early one Sunday morning, a Teo taxi, and we wait. Sunday morning, it's snowing. It's snowed overnight, it's still snowing. The trees are covered, branches are heavy, roads haven't been cleared, sidewalks haven't been cleared, and the taxi is late. And it's beautiful. Taxi arrives. We tell the taxi driver, we're going to take us to Royal Victoria Hospital. I'm about to have a baby. My husband starts to chat with the taxi driver because he likes to chat with anyone about anything all the time. But wait a second. I'm the star of the show here. I'm about to have a baby. Driver, you're going the wrong direction. You're taking us the opposite way. We arrive, and I needn't have been worried about being late because it's another 48 hours before our baby enters this world. 48 hours. Now, looking back, I wonder if he wanted to make us wait just a little bit longer so that he could come on another special day. He was born on his great-grandmother's 101st birthday and the first night of Hanukkah. As I held my little tiny squishy bundle in my arms, we knew what we would call him. We named him Asher, which is Hebrew for blessing or happiness, because my long-awaited baby was my best blessing and my best happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you very much. And yeah, good.
I think I was probably under, so hey.
I think so, but I was stopped timing. I'm so sorry.
And I don't even know what I was actually.
Time is not the most interesting part of this show. Let's keep moving.
Keep going. It doesn't.
Stories.
Okay. So next is I'm sorry, just looking at my lineup. Next is a many-time confabulator, Mike Wilder. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I had a pandemic romance. Our first real date was an amateur opera in Laval in December 2019. And 8.5 months later, I moved in with her on Labor Day 2020. So there was a lot I didn't know. The apartment was already stuffed with Linda's stuff. At the end of my moving day, the apartment was like a weird alien landscape of piles of boxes. You could not walk a straight line anywhere, and there was literally no place to put anything down. And for months, we got rid of stuff. And by the end of November, the living room was clear enough to actually sit in and use and look at the television. So that's when we discovered that the remote control for her big smart TV had disappeared. And this was important because we're both opera people. We really wanted to watch the free Metropolitan Opera live streaming every night for free on the big screen. And we started searching and we searched everywhere and we just couldn't find it. And then my brain kicked in and I went out and I bought a $13 replacement remote. It was a Saturday, and Saturday night we saw the free opera. It was great. It was the beginning of many nights. And the next afternoon, I was puttering around in my office while Linda went through the last 2 boxes of crap in the living room, and she found the remote in the last box. And I laughed, and I said to her, it was only there because I had gone out the day before and bought a replacement. That's the only reason we found it. A week and a half later, for Christmas, I gave Linda a portable CD player because there was no CD player in her car, and I got her one that plugged into the radio kind of thing, and she could listen to opera on her way to work and back. 2 weeks later, it disappeared. We looked, we searched in the car, we searched in her stuff, it must have fallen out of the car. It was gone. And Linda was really upset because she'd lost her Christmas present, and it wasn't $13, but I bought her another one. I ordered one, and it actually arrived the next day. And I gave it to her when she came home from work. And later that evening, I was in the living room watching Rachel Maddow, and Linda walks into the living room with the big bag of empty plastic bags that sits on the floor of the pantry, with that bag and her lost CD player. And I said to her, well, the only reason you found it is because I bought you another one. Linda drives a 2018 Elantra. I really hope she doesn't lose that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. My parents moved about 10 years ago and they still haven't found the remote to their TV. And it just makes all kinds of things really sort of awkward,
Oh,
so, yeah. Anyway, thanks, Mike. Our next storyteller, somebody that that Michelle and I met in a Story Lab workshop, and Roxanna has been a regular at the shows ever since the Story Lab workshop, and so it is a pleasure once again for us to welcome Roxanna Barramatash. Welcome.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm so happy to be here. Very excited. We live in Montreal, and there's so many people who come from different parts, who were born in other parts of the world. And you would think that by now, nobody wants to know where anybody else comes from. But you're wrong. I'm constantly being asked, so where are you from? And in situations like I have the plumber coming in, And he does his job, and at the end of it, he says, "So where are you from?" In those circumstances, I say Burkina Faso. And I've been other places, like I go to a party and I don't know anybody and they don't know me, and they come to me and say, the first thing is, "Where are you from?" It's like an icebreaker. People, it's not an icebreaker, it's an ice maker. I start to freeze inside because I think, okay, so it means I am not part of whatever, I don't fit in, I'm a foreigner. I think we had a theme about fitting in. So as a result, I'm always trying to fit in. As part of fitting in is doing Christmas the way it's done, doing Halloween that is the way it's done. And when a local dance studio organized a Halloween party, I asked my daughter for a costume, and she gave me Spider-Woman. And I said, "Oh, good, I'm going to blend in." I entered the studio, and the studio owner's face has a funny expression. And I go to her, and as I am walking towards her, I see nobody else is wearing a costume. So I say, "It's not tonight, is it?" She says, "No, it's Sunday." What do I do? How do I get out of this? She says, "Everybody has already seen you. So what do I do?" She says, "Why don't you say that you're going to a Halloween party afterwards?" Okay, that's what I'll do. So I go in, everybody's dressed normal. It's really appropriate at that occasion to ask me, like, "Where are you from?" looking like that. But nobody does. So it's funny now, but at the time it wasn't funny. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roxanne, for sharing that with us. Thank you. Our next storyteller, also a graduate of the Story Lab, but also has been in several confab live events. And there will be more live events in our future. Until then, Sarah Morley, welcome.
Hello. In the 80s, before my daughter's born, I go out most nights, often to Fufun Electrique. I live downtown near Guy Street, so usually walk home, but tonight I'm tired. It's well past midnight by the time the last metro rolls into Sanaha station. There's a smattering of passengers in the car. I walk down the aisle to find a single seat next to the door. I like these seats. I catch my breath and look up. A man sits opposite. We pull into Place des Arts, the doors open, passengers shuffle off, the doors close, and on we go. The man's looking at me, and he doesn't glance away when I catch his eye. I try not to look at him. Next stop, McGill. More step off, some on, and the man remains seated. He continues to stare. His eyes are small and intense, and he reminds me of a shark. Oh, I get a tight feeling in my chest. I want to get off. I'll walk the rest of the way home. Next stop, Peel. I stand up and face the doors. The man also stands. The doors open. I wait, but he doesn't move. Fuck. The doors close. I sit down again, and so does he. A smile spreads across his face. It's an ugly smile. I hold his stare. We roll into Guy Station, and the man doesn't move. The doors open. I take a deep breath. They begin to close. I jump up and leap onto the platform. Bang! Bang! The man's hands hit the door, his face framed in the window. His glance, his looks are now ferocious as the train pulls away.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. And anybody who's been on a metro, which of course everybody has been, but yeah, that's it's a very defining moment. The doors opening, the doors closing. Thanks, Sarah. Our next storyteller is Michelle Lux, next storyteller and also next host, because Michelle was also one of the Confab producers and also my partner in Story Lab workshops. And
Story Lab, which we're starting again in just a few weeks.
take it from here.
Take it from there. Okay.
Take it from
Here we
there.
go.
Go ahead. We'll talk more about it later.
All right. Sounds good. Next Friday, I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to see my 82-year-old mother and her octogenarian boyfriend, Bill, for the first time in 2 years. I'm meeting them in Florida. But it's not the bingo halls, early bird special shuffleboards of retirement Florida. We're meeting at Disney World. We've lived two really different versions of the pandemic, my mother and I. I've spent the last 2 years basically in this chair, living life through my computer screen. During team meetings, I study colleagues' micro expressions. I've gotten really good at spotting anxiety and distress. I doom scroll COVID numbers as I eat lunch and leave my desk only to exercise with my tiny bubble of friends, whom I haven't even hugged since COVID began. I know I'm not alone. My mother and Bill saw their vaccines as real passports to adventure. They've now driven all over the States, box of masks and surgical gloves in the back seat. At first, my sister and I had one message for them. This is crazy. Stay home. My mom's answer, girls, the clock is ticking. We don't have a moment to waste at our ages. And now they're spending the entire month of February at Disney World. My mother refused to even take us there when we were kids. My occupational therapist daughter, who believes everyone over 50 needs a handrail in the shower, calls from her desk. Can you believe where Grandma is now? Disney World? I'm worried that she might be having cognitive issues. So I scrutinize the pictures my mother sends. Mom and Bill on the Tower of Terror, hamming it up with Mickey Mouse and Dory the fish, purple surgical gloves on, but masks pulled down, and their expressions are of pure joy. It's been 2 years, and I finally feel ready to leave my desk. I have my own box of masks, extra hand sanitizer, I'm boosted, and I'm going to use my vaccine passport for more than just getting into the library. I'm going to get on a plane for the first time in 2 years and head to the Magic Kingdom. Who knows? Maybe I'll get to hang out with Pluto or Goofy and expand my friend bubble a tiny bit. At the very least, I'll sneak my mask down for a moment for a photo with Snow White and hug my mother tight by the big white castle in the sunshine. Thank you. Our next storyteller of the evening is Guillaume Lucier-Houle. Guillaume, welcome to the screen.
We are all from somewhere very unique. I'm from a family of 10. I was paired with my 2 younger brothers. Hear it how it goes. We share a room. Everything is on the floor. Our shirts, our t-shirts, our pants, our underpants, our Legos, our G.I. Joes, you name it, it's on the floor. It's not that we want it to be cluttered, but I'm discouraged with the amount of stuff that is there that isn't mine. I shouldn't have to clean after my dirty brothers. It's hard for my parents to get us to clean the room. when we are forced to clean, we take all the clothing on the floor, we bring it to the laundry room, we shovel everything else under the bed, and we swipe the floor. It never lasts very long. Oh, and we become builders. We put ropes from one side of the room to the other and hang all the blankets we find. We take our mattresses, we make walls with them. Our cousins, one time they show us a game called Warhammer. They have two armies of figurines that moves with a ruler and attack with a dice roll. It's fun. So when we get home, we make our own version. We gather our little green soldiers, rulers, dice, but we feel we are missing a lot of stuff. So on a night our parents aren't home, we go down to the storage to pick up tissue boxes. These tissue boxes are perfect to make walls. And my parents, they buy them in bulk. So we pick 2 packs of 24 tissue boxes and we empty them on our beds. It makes a mess. There is a lot of tissues. That's where I'm from, a messy room. That's where I learned what together meant for me. It meant putting on my brother's pants, entering in my brother's shoes, and seeing through my brother's glasses. It built me to the person I am today, for the better and for the worse. Where are you from? And how did it shape you to the person you are today?
Oh, Guillaume, thank you so much. Wow, it sounds a lot like where my sister and I lived, on the second floor of our little room, our little house. It also reminds me of an amazing documentary that Josh Freed made about creativity and all that comes from mess. So high five to you for being growing up in a messy room. I was just like you. Our next storyteller of the evening is Rana Levy, who's joining us all the way from Brooklyn. Welcome, Rana.
Thank you. It was about 3 years ago. It was on 9/11, and I was scrolling through Facebook, and I see that one of my high school classmates had posted this tribute video to another high school classmate named Paige Farley, who was on American Airlines number 11 that crashed into one of the towers. Now, there have been a lot of tributes to Paige, but this video, I never hung out with Paige in high school. I mean, I don't even remember ever seeing her at the Dairy Queen, at football games or any parties. I just remember the only thing that she did was she went on the high school field trips. They went skiing in Austria, and we moved in really different circles. And then a few years later, after high school, I hear that Paige is in rehab for drugs and alcohol. And I remember I'm thinking, yeah, another townie bites the dust. But I watched this video and I see this really beautiful, classy lady who was actually on her way to Los Angeles that morning to discuss her upcoming radio series that was going to be called Spiritually Speaking. And I learned that Paige was chairman of the board of the Boston chapter of the Salvation Army, and her mission was to help people improve their lives. And Paige has all of these gratitude lists that now hang in the 9/11 Memorial Museum. And on the video, her husband says that her gratitude list of that morning said that she was grateful for safe planes. And the 1970s band Bread sings, "I would give anything I own just to have you back again." And I think about high school. And I just wish that I had said hi to Paige when we passed each other in the hallways. Thank you.
Thank you, Rana. That was so moving and beautiful. And wow, all that we think about this certainly gives us a lot of time to think back to those important early days and what we wish we'd done. What a beautiful story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next storyteller of the evening is Erin Rodgers. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you. Am I on screen? Here we go. It is a few years ago, and I have quit my terrible job. I have started my own business, and it is not going great. Turns out you can't just decide to have a business and suddenly you're a big success. Despite all the videos I watch and all the books I read, it's just going to take some time. So I get another job. I get just a more flexible job. I go and I'm a brand ambassador, which is if you've ever had some annoying person like try to give you gum or a flyer. Hi, sorry, I was that person. I am working at a mall in a Toronto suburb. Every morning I wake up at 6 and I get on 2 or 3 buses to go into an echoey mall and have teenagers yell in my face. It's not great. The mall echoes, my mind echoes, every terrible thing anyone has ever said to me echoes, and I spend all day in a pink t-shirt giving out razors. Then one day, one of the people I'm working with, she comes up to me and she starts chatting. And a thing about women that I've learned as a bisexual is sometimes they flirt differently. She's like chatting with me and like, she's younger than me, but like, I mean, a girl likes to think she's pretty. And so we're like chatting and it's fun. She has a small business and I have a small business. And we start talking and it's going really well. And so she asked for my number. I was like, of course, like maybe we can go for coffee at some point. And so I give her my number. And right after that, she starts telling me about an organization she's a part of. Now, this organization is not a cult. And I will not say what it is called because they will sue me. But this not a cult organization is very big on recruiting. And now this woman has my number. And she never calls me, ever. But honestly, suddenly I'm not worried about my business anymore. And now it's going pretty well. So I guess, you know, being turned down for a cult has its positive side. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. She still might have your number, Erin.
She hasn't called me yet. I think she would have by now.
Perhaps, maybe it's been a few years. I wanted to mention that Erin has a new book out called Bold, which is a collection of stories from storytellers from around the world. And the money, it's available on Amazon, and the money for the purchase of the book goes to charity. The book is also featuring our next storyteller, who is Joanne Pelletier. Welcome, Joanne.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Confabulation. Oh my God, they have 2 different kinds of smoked paprika here. They have 8 different kinds of salt, and there's a whole aisle in the store devoted to all that powdered stuff that you can put in smoothies and shakes. The thing is, I might have a problem with the bulk barn store. You see, because even though I always go with a list, I get distracted by all the aisles of foodie possibilities, like all the things I think I want to try. But worse than that, here's the problem. I don't check the unit price. That's the cost of the bulk item by pound or ounce or liter. And the unit price, it's in these teeny tiny letters on each of the bins for every product. And so by the time I see the unit price and I do the math, I'm already loading stuff up in my bag. And well, once the product is in the bag, there's no going back. You can't put it back in the bin. For instance, if you get to the cash and realize that your math is wrong, that you've bought way too much of said item, you can't give it back. I need to pay more attention to the unit price. I have a problem with the bulk barn because I just bought $75 worth of powdered kale. Thank you.
I am completely with you there, Joanne Pelletier. I have a terrible problem with bulk barn, and part of it is those crazy gloves that they make you wear to try to open the bags. But the powdered kale, I'll drink to that. I've ended up with some powdered kale myself. Not $75 worth though. Thank you very much, Joanne. Our next storyteller is Lucas Rolland, and Lucas is a co-producer at Confabulation. He's also in charge of communications and social media. Welcome, Lucas, to the screen.
Thank you. So the other day, my boyfriend comes home and he asks, "Hey, have you seen these pictures on your mom's Facebook?" And I'm like, "What?" So I go and I look, and my grandmother's house is for sale. This wasn't a surprise. I knew this was coming. It's almost been a year since she's passed, but it's my grandmother's house. I mean, this is one of the places that I go back to every time I visit Louisiana, which sadly I can count on one hand the number of times I've been back in 14 years. But so I go and I'm looking through these photos, and it's weird. I don't like, the house is empty. It's not my grandparents' house. So I decide to describe to my boyfriend, because now I can't ever bring him there because the house is for sale. So I tell him, okay, so no, when you go in, normally there's this table, and I used to be young, my sister and I, we would hide under it. This table, you could smack your head against it coming in the house when you're, a child. The table's gone. I tell him about my grandfather's chair that was in the living room with the little lamp that hung over it where he would play the guitar. I told him about the posters. I think they were blacklight posters of like jaguars and other creatures that was in the room that used to belong to my uncle. We looked at my grandmother's weird tiny bath. I mean, it's not weird, but it's a weird tiny bath. So all through this empty house, and I'm thinking, well, I mean, at least I get to take this sort of virtual tour one last time. My sister sends me a picture of her and my mother on the swing in the backyard. There was this shed that my grandfather built, and they had this swing. And at one point, they decided to pour this kind of concrete walkway between the patio and the shed because, my grandparents, one or the other, has used a walker at some point in time. It's easier than the grass. When they poured the concrete, though, they decided to scratch the initials of all the grandchildren in there. So there's my Uncle Jerry's kids, there's my initials, and there's my sister's. And the middle initial is not the right letter, but it's fine because what family was ever perfect, right? Thank you. So, our next storyteller, I actually bonded with at a Confab Story Lab. She's coming recently from a performance with Confabulation's What Remains. Please welcome to the stream, Emma Lanza.
Hi, everyone. So I'm a fat babe with curly hair. A fat babe with curly hair who desperately wants bangs. Except you're not supposed to get bangs if you have curly hair. And you are especially not supposed to get bangs if you are fat. Bangs are the horizontal stripes of the fat face. Do not draw attention to the roundness of your face, to your double or even triple chins, any of it. Camouflage, camouflage, camouflage. Seek out flattering haircuts only. Just as we're only supposed to wear certain clothes like peplums and empire waist dresses and cold shoulder floral print tops. What did my shoulders ever do to deserve that? The point is, do anything you can to mask the fat. We should feel ashamed of our fat bodies. But guess what? I love a horizontal stripe. Contrary to the opinion of, the world, I love my fat body, truly. A fact I have learned many people literally cannot comprehend. And that is 100% their problem. I say, fuck flattering. I wear what I want, clothes I feel good in, which might at times be a floral, but it will never be a cold shoulder. Never. So this January, when I feel the urge to get curly bangs, I wait almost 3 weeks before taking the plunge. What if this is a huge mistake? What if I look horrendous? But I do take the plunge and I love them. They give my face this lovely new frame and put a spring in my step. And do these bangs make me look fat? The answer is yes, but only because I am fat. So be fat, wear clothes that make you happy, and rock those bangs. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Those bangs make you look great.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Our next storyteller is Madeline Holden.
Thank you for having me. This is pretty exciting. I've never been on this show before. Okay, my name is Madeline Holden, and this is my story. I know some crazy women, but I mean crazy in a fun way. When I die, my mom says, mix my ashes with your dad's and throw us in the river. Then you can have a party and tell our personal stories. It'll be really nice and easy. That's the plan for the funeral. And then she named me power of attorney on some off chance that she would ever give up her independence. Well, she had to. And now I signed for my mom, and my sister Barb has a new plan. Barb found out that our maternal grandmother prepaid for 8 cemetery plots in southern Ontario. Our grandparents are there, but no one used the extra space. Everyone's dead, except my mom, who's 91. My mom kind of likes this new plan of going back to her roots in southern Ontario after she dies. With cremation, Barb says, we can stuff 24 of us in there, no problem. Just think, you and I can be buried there with our kids. No one's going to have to go around digging around for our personal stories. Names, dates, relationships, everything's going to be there, etched right in stone. Won't that be fun? Barb's coming to Quebec with the documents. I have an appointment with the notary to witness my signature saying my mom is the last living link to some space in a cemetery somewhere in Ontario. Spending eternity with my tribe of crazy women, that's starting to sound like a great plan.
Thank you, Madeline, for that confabulation debut. Wow, 24 of us.
We can stuff them right in there, yeah.
Wow. Our next and final storyteller, well, what you need to know about him is that he has actually participated in each and every one of the shortest stories year after year. So here again, for number 12, please welcome Josh Budman.
Hi, good to be back. Okay. My phone rings and it's my brother Mark, and all he says is, he did it again. He did it again. He referring to my 87-year-old father, and it's breaking a bone 1 week before a wedding. In 2003, 1 week before Mark's wedding, my father got hit by a car in a parking lot, fell over and broke his foot. He was okay, but he had a broken foot. And 1 week before my wedding, my father went on a joyride on his 3-wheeled bike, misjudged, tipped over, and fractured his hip. He was okay. He did have a broken hip and some mobility issues, so unfortunately he was going to be in a wheelchair for the wedding. Thankfully, my mom, through recommendation, found a service that sent a helper to help my father out during the event, and we could all have fun and not worry too much about it. Unfortunately, this man had no wedding etiquette and was not much of a help. He showed up in jeans and a polo shirt, even though we specifically told him it was a formal, semi-formal event. Apparently he was on his phone the entire night and only helped when asked for help, not offering help. And at one point when my mother needed his help so my father could go to the washroom, she found him inside, even though it was an outdoor wedding. He went into a building and she found him on a chair sleeping. So we weren't very happy with his service at all. Thankfully, it didn't really ruin the wedding, but it was just not a nice thing to add, especially during COVID times. So that happened. Thankfully, the following week, my mother phoned the place who sent the person and complained, and they were shocked, and they're like, oh, of course, it's on us. Like, don't worry about paying for this man. We're sorry that this happened. I don't know what happened to the guy, but that was that. So that was pretty good for that, but it was crappy the whole thing happened. Well, at least we never had to think about this person again. Cut to a month later, my wife and I receive our wedding photos, and we're so excited to look at them. And we're going through all the photos, all the memories and everything. And then we come across the group photo, and it's all of our guests, 50 of us. The wedding was at Espace Canal, so there was this big outdoor stairwell, and our plan was to have everyone line up on the stairwell and pose for this big photo. And it was a bit of a challenge getting everyone together, and the photographer did a fantabulous job, but he's like, everyone pose for the picture and gathering everyone together. There's multiple copies of the same picture, and I'm looking at them all to see like which is the best one, because someone might be blinking, and it's really hard to find the perfect picture of like all 50 people like staring at the camera and not having a goofy face and whatever. And that's when I notice it, and I just start laughing. And my wife turns to me and goes, "What is it?" And I go, "Look." And in the photo is the guy standing there. Now, if he was right next to my father, or like looking like he's trying to dodge the camera, like to go out of the photo, I would have given him the benefit of the doubt, because he realized he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But no, he's standing there posing in this photo, about 4 or 5 people behind my father. So that means when the photographer said, "Everyone gather in for a photo," he decided to walk into this picture and pose with my family. All we could do is just burst out laughing, because there was just, what else can we do? I mean, he obviously knew nothing about wedding etiquette or what to do, but just seeing that made me laugh so hard. And I mean, sometimes you just have to let things happen. It also doesn't hurt that I'm a graphic designer and I'll be able to Photoshop him out of the photo. Thanks.
Thank you, Josh. We did it, everyone. Another Confabulation presents the shortest story, our 12th edition. Popping everyone back up on the screen. We ended with a wedding, everybody. We ended with a wedding. We're a real comedy now. I love it. I want to do a quick roundabout thank you to all of our storytellers this evening. That's Emily Trudeau, Afrina Noor, Mike Pellegrin, Miriam Ganny, Shannon Babcock, Mike Wilder, Roxanna, I'm so sorry, Barramatash, Sarah Morley, Guillaume Rana Levy, Joanne Pelletier, Emma Lanza, Madeline Holden, Josh Budman, and Erin Rodgers. Do not forget about Erin's collection, Stories About Living Life Out Loud, available on Amazon and other places. I have so many other quick announcements that I want to throw out there. First off, as Michelle and Deb mentioned, they have another installment of the Story Lab storytelling series coming up. You can send them an email at storylab@confabulation.ca for more details. But that's coming up real soon. So please do send them an email, storylab@confabulation.ca. And we are planning to come back live. Confabulation presents Good Date, Bad Date is coming to the Centaur Theatre in Montreal as part of the Wild Side Remix series. That's March 4th, Friday night at 9 p.m. We will still take a couple more pitches before we make our final calls. So tell a story at confabulation.ca is the email address, but you got really little time. Like, that's just a couple of weeks away. And as always, we will be workshopping and helping storytellers who need help develop their pieces. Other things to say about that, get in touch. We'll give you more details about that show as it comes. So excited. We are planning at this point, anxiously but excitedly, to have shows for the rest of our season. We've got an April date at Mainline Theatre booked. We've got an event in May, I believe, at the Centaur for our 12th birthday. It's very exciting, and I need it, and we all need it. I just love storytelling, and when we can all get together for this, it just does so much for all of us, I think. What else can I say? Oh, yeah. If you want more details, you can check out our revamped website, confabulation.ca. It's still coming together. The last details are coming together, but it's looking beautiful right now. Thank you so much to Kyla Pearson, who's been working as our website designer. It's looking so good. Confab stories at all of the social media branches. I've got to thank my team. Thank you to our other hosts this evening, Deb Van Slett, Michelle Lukes, and Lucas Rolland. The rest of our production team, who is not part of this individual Zoom call, Smriti Bansal, Francesca Esquera, Nisha Coleman, Nathan Elliott, Stephen Trepanier, our tech director, and of course, our Victoria team, Cassandra Tugneri and Carolyn Michaels. Thank you as always to the Conseil des Arts de Montréal for their support. We'll see you, I guess, in a couple of weeks at the Centaur. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, and have a great night. Bye. Are we still streaming?